And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Both Sides of the Fence. I'm here today, Daniel Beadle, a buyer's agent with Henderson Advocacy, and my co-host, Kevin Buchanan, a real estate selling agent with Manor Real Estate out in the Hills District. And we're excited for episode 7. We've got one of the greatest real estate agents from Strathfield, Tarun, Sethi, with Richard Matthews.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, we're really keen to have you on today.
Likewise, looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one.
We'll hopefully ask some deep questions and get some of the secrets out. I think a good place to start is to get an understanding of, your journey so far and why real estate and what that's looked like over the last few years.
Yeah, sure. I think I've always been, passionate about the real estate industry, property as a whole. I've been brought up in a family that have kind of property enthusiasts, if you will, invested in properties, all that sort of stuff. So it's been something that, I've always wanted to do ever since a kid. And I think that was my first job out of high school. Yeah.
Yep.
Went straight into real estate even before I had graduated, really, yeah.
Cool. And how long have you been in the game for now?
Approximately 7 years, yeah.
Approximately 7 years, great. And obviously, the past couple of years, I used to, just so everyone knows, actually used to work at Richard Matthews Real Estate, where Tarun is now.
There you go.
And for the past couple of years, you've kind of seen Tarun kind of explode the past couple of years. At the moment, do you mind letting our viewers know how many transactions you're doing per year, what your average sale price is, and maybe some of your biggest sales as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the last 12 months, sold probably, this year alone we'd be selling probably about 60, 70 properties,
yep.
Obviously alongside a team. Average sale price, I'd say, is probably about 3.5 mil.
Jeez,
yeah.
That's big dollars. And I guess what you've seen transition from being, where did you start? What position did you start in, sorry? As secretary?
I started, as a receptionist.
As a receptionist?
Kind of front desk.
Okay, so how did you transition from, and what brought you and motivated you from being a receptionist to now being a leading agent in a highly affluent suburb?
I think that's, always been one of my goals, and obviously, it's a step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day, right?
No, exactly.
You kind of work your way through the hurdles, and you just kind of go through the process of it all. Went from a receptionist into property management, did that for a couple of years, and then went into sales. Now I'm fortunate enough to be leading a team, with awesome people in it.
Yep.
Looking forward to the next step, I guess, in the journey. It's a long road ahead.
And how many people are in your own personal team now?
4, including myself.
4, including yourself.
Yeah.
Do you mind giving our viewers a bit of an understanding of each particular person in that team and their roles in that team?
Yeah.
What their daily tasks are?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, look, now I've kind of, transitioned, the structures a little in a way where they're all kind of doing, sales agent kind of work. I'm looking for an executive assistant who kind of, controls all the processes, the structures, and who's more really like a team coordinator, if you will.
Yep.
I try and, get the majority of the listings, and I'll be working alongside Carlos, Kayla, and Jacob. And we all go out there. Everyone's hungry. We've all got, a tunnel vision, and everyone's in line with each other. We work really well together as a team, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like it too from what you see on social media. Are any of your team members listing and selling beside you, or are they purely prospecting at the moment?
Most of them are predominantly prospecting. Carlos has now started to go out and, go to listings. I'm encouraging him to go to listings by himself. It's one of those things, Kev, where, as you're well aware, if you don't throw someone in the deep end and, sink or swim kind of mentality, you start to learn, and that's probably the best way to learn. I wouldn't call it a mistake, I'd call it a lesson. And, once you learn that way, you know what to do and you know what not to do. Yeah. That's the reality of it, yeah.
What would you say now, with your experience, has been some of your biggest sink or swim moments?
Things like, losing listings. A few years ago, I'd probably take a week to get over losing a listing. Now it's like, whatever, you just move on to the next one. Facing adversity, and I think being, dogged, if you will, or grass cut on, little things in a real estate kind of perspective make you learn, and you realise it's about the bigger picture. There's a longer game, you know.
Correct. Now, there were always one to two particular bigger name agents that were in the marketplace dominating for quite a long time in the Strathfield area, and you've pretty much blown it apart. What do you attribute your success or level of success that you're at now? What are the tasks or what have you done to separate yourself from the pack?
There's not real one task, as you guys know. I think, the overall kind of mentality is just, have that tunnel vision, have that hunger. I think, the hours that I put in, relentless, work ethic.
What are those hours, just for the viewers? We were talking about it before. This bloke works more hours. What are the hours?
I'm trying to slow down, and we keep saying that year on year out, and it doesn't end up happening. But I probably do on average, I'd say at minimum 12-hour days, anywhere up to 14, 15 hours a day, yeah.
7 days a week, right?
Yeah, 7 days a week.
Mental.
I don't really have Sundays off, but obviously on Sundays you wouldn't work as long, you'd do 6 hours. Today I've been working from 8 o'clock, that was my first appointment, but yeah.
Massive. Now, when you started in real estate, were you doing those hours still, or has it gradually ramped up?
I think it's gradually ramped up. When I first started, I'd probably finish off at 6, 7, but the busier you get, you develop a clientele I think my main point of difference is I don't focus on any one transaction. It's always a long-standing relationship with the client and myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm good at, building relationships with people, So now, for instance, today I got invited to a wedding for a client of mine that I've sold for. Their daughter's getting married, yeah. And they invited me to a wedding next year in February. You wouldn't normally think that a client of yours is going to invite their real estate agent to their wedding, but I don't like to, see them as clients. A lot of my clients, or the majority of my clients, have now become friends of mine, and that's how, I like to run my business.
Well, I see a lot out with clients at dinners. Is that, and personally I'm actually really curious about this, do you invite them out to dinner, or are they inviting you out to dinner?
9 out of 10 times it's me inviting them.
Yeah. Okay. So you're using this as a form of prospecting tool as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, right? You've had a big day at work, and instead of going home and just having dinner, have it with a couple of people that you genuinely enjoy their company with, and it's non-real estate or non-work related conversations we're having there. You get to know a bit about each other, their personalities, their families, and a little bit more into their personal life.
Okay, so it seems like you're building lifelong relationships,
Correct.
Not just one transaction type
Absolutely
relationships.
Right. Yeah.
Now, the area that you sell in, now in my area, a lot of people, you have a 1-2 step, you'll move from the townhouse or small house into the bigger houses, but once you reach a certain point in my marketplace, you're out of the hills. You're moving into different pockets.
Yeah, right.
In this inner west pocket, I'm guessing that they're staying in this inner west area for a very long time. You can get multiple transactions.
Yes and no. Yeah, like a lot of them are staying in the local area for 30, 40 years, and they're jumping from one part of town to the other. But a lot of them are going, the next chapter in their life would be somewhere closer to the water, changing lifestyle. Whether it be, closer towards the eastern suburbs or that pocket around Hunters Hill, Des Moines.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, especially that kind of top tier real estate, anywhere north or upwards of $4 or $5 million, a lot of those clients that have been in the area for a long time, held properties for 30, 40 years. Kids have kind of grown up and moved out of home, and they don't need to be, close to public transport or private schooling. They're looking at going out closer towards the water.
Yeah. Now,
maybe up the coast.
Yeah. Now, you're selling some of the most expensive real estate in the inner west. Do you ever get nervous walking into these big homes, into these multi-million dollar properties, or are you kind of unfazed by this now?
Yeah. I think once you've done it for long enough and the clients know who you are, you've got, an element of rapport there. There's obviously a trust factor because they've seen your name, on other properties and other sales that you've executed in the area. I think if, you've got your local market knowledge down pat, you know the area well, the ins and the outs, and I've been born, lived, raised in the same area my whole life. I think that element of, anxiety or nervousness, if you will, kind of goes away. Yeah.
Cool.
Do you do any preparation before you enter a home or do a listing presentation?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, right?
What does that
Yeah.
look like for you?
So one of my assistants will prepare a CMA, comparative market analysis. It includes comparable sales in and around the immediate vicinity, recent properties that you've sold, because we're so area focused. We're very Strathfield centric, if you will. We'll include recent properties that we've sold that we always do have in and around that kind of local pocket. What else?
What about
I'll send an email before I get to the actual appointment, a bit of information on myself, past vendor testimonials, sample kind of emails of marketing or sample auction videos, just a bit of information on the company and myself. Yeah.
Great. Now, when you're selling, let's say, for example, a $1 to $2 million property compared to a $5+ million property, what's the difference in negotiating? Is there any difference in terms of a marketing campaign, in terms of how you negotiate with buyers? Are buyers at that level more difficult or easier to deal with?
Yeah, without a doubt. When you're selling, a sub $1 million property, generally in our area it's going to be an apartment or a townhouse. And a lot of those buyers are first home buyers or, upsizing. It might be their second purchase, whatever it may be. Some of them are downsizers as well that could be a little bit more savvy. Having said that, it's a lot easier kind of working with them because they're a little bit more open and upfront. They don't keep their cards close to their chest as much. When you're selling a home, I sold one in Newton Road that you were mentioning earlier on. That one sold for $9 million, and the buyers for a property of that caliber, they've transacted properties, some of them 40, 50 homes to get to that kind of stage in their life. They're a lot more shrewd. And if you're not, if you're not sharp and on point with them, then they'll run circles around you.
Yeah.
What do you do to stay sharp? What's the training been or the routine?
Well, you got to be confident in your delivery. You got to know your stuff. That's very important. Be a local market, leader, so to speak. So when they speak about another property and say, well, you're asking for this much, the property down the road sold for that much, you've got to know exactly, was there an easement running through the property, was the block irregular, and you've got to be confident about it, what part of the streets, more prime, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Great. Now, you've reached quite a large level of success. What are your next goals and what are you stepping towards after this? Is it just still building a bigger market share in Strathfield, or will you start to expand into different areas after this?
I think in the last 6 months, more so, I was very Strathfield focused up until 6 months ago, and I realised a lot of the people that are coming through our homes in Strathfield are from surrounding suburbs. That our company, dominate or transact a lot of properties in, and I think we've started to now branch out to different areas. I've given Carlos, Kayla, Jacob, their kind of core areas that I'm trying to grow them in as well. And I think it's all cross pollination really. 50% of the people that come through our homes are local buyers, definitely, but the other 50% are from surrounding areas. And 9 out of 10 times, if you're inspecting a home at that kind of price point, you're living in a property that you're going to need to sell once you've purchased, right?
And what would you say is your biggest lead source at the moment? Are you using much social media? Is it strictly coming from open homes? Are you guys door knocking, cold calling? What would be your biggest lead sources?
Do a lot of social media, not as much door knocking. I'm the type of person where I'm in the car and I'm on a phone call. I can't drive past something, happening at a property, whether it be a painter out the front or a skip in. I need to pull over, get off that call and, door knock it. That's probably more targeted door knocking, but door knocking the street and what have you, we're not doing so much of that. We should probably be doing more. The guys in our team need to be doing more of that, letterbox dropping, cold calling, all that sort of stuff. But now being, the busiest time of year, from a real estate perspective, I think we're doing a lot more of, just opening properties, showing homes, and a lot of the leads are coming off the back of properties we have on the market, whether it be from an inquiry or an inspection. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what would be the key point of difference between, I know you said there's not one, but if people are calling you in rather than everybody else, is there one reason why people are starting to call you in rather than your competitors?
Our results.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to just say our results, are the best. But if you look at, properties that we've sold, I'll actually, go into the depth of putting it on a comparison chart. So I find out who else they're talking to, and then I'll sit down and explain to them that same property was sold in this street. We've sold this much, and actually, justify why we're probably, best suited for the job in terms of maximising the sale price. And the proof's in the pudding, right?
Great.
Yeah.
Now, you're obviously a young guy that's done very well. Do you do much real estate coaching and real estate training, or do you think it's all natural ability from yourself?
I do. I have been doing coaching. Adrian Bowe's my coach, so I sit down with him from time to time, and I speak to him over the phone. That probably started a few months ago.
Okay.
I think I was feeling a little overwhelmed, a lot to do, not enough hours to do it in, type of thing. So increasing efficiency, increasing, the amount of stuff you can do in the same amount of time, if you will. That's really important, yeah.
What would you say out of that coaching has been the biggest shift, improving your efficiency?
Setting out roles for my team, structures, implementing processes that we now follow or try to follow. Sticking to it's the hard part, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. Tell you firsthand, there's so many times like I'll set myself, hey, we'll do this, this and this.
Yeah.
And you always defer.
It never happens.
No.
Never happens.
No.
How do you do it out of curiosity?
I have a coach as well. So I have Jeff Jowett.
Yep.
It's more around mindset with me at the moment. So I did a lot of like Josh Vegan and what have you, setting up structures and getting my day set.
Yep.
But now that I've got all my structures in place, it kind of runs on autopilot. Now for me, it's more about having my mindset right to make sure when I'm going in doing deals, it's a clear cut decision around what I'm doing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Now,
I think being a bit more present, in that actual moment is important.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to start off again in real estate, would you do anything different?
Would I do anything different? There's a million and one things you could think of, right? No regrets. I think I'm happy with everything that I've done. Would I have done anything differently? Probably not. Yeah. I'm not saying anything's perfect. I think the first couple of years, I wasn't as serious and committed, obviously. But I don't regret that. Growing up, that's part of life. Everything's a learning curve. You learn, you kind of reflect, and then, use that in the next chapter of your life moving forward.
Yeah. Now, there are a lot of younger viewers that will listen to this and will watch this that are newer into the industry.
Yeah.
What would be some of your biggest tips or takeaways for them that are new into the industry?
A lot of the people that are new into the industry, I feel like, there's an element of frustration. The results don't happen immediately. It's a long-term game. So what you put in now, you start to kind of reap the rewards and see the fruits of your hard work in a few years' time. Keep, door knocking, keep prospecting, do everything it takes to, just identify a name, a number and an email address, and then nurture that database.
Yep.
Keep nurturing it. Every single listing I have, at the moment, I've met these people 2, 3, 5 years ago. So I think it's important to remember you're not going to, gain that immediate success now, but you just, kind of have to stay focused and committed. Trust the process, and it'll come in time. Yeah.
What was your daily task when you first got into real estate? Were you purely door knocking? Were you purely cold calling?
I love door knocking.
Yeah.
When I first started, I door knocked. I remember I door knocked every single home in every street in the area. I had an Excel spreadsheet for every street.
Yep.
So I'd door knock at the people who wouldn't, who weren't at home or who told me to get fucked, if you will. I'd still go back and I'd try call them. Then I'd letterbox drop, and I just flooded the entire area doing that. And then, you get from one kind of phase to the next. It's a step at a time. Then you'll start, getting indoors, and then once you finally get indoors, no one will take you seriously. once you start getting taken seriously, you'll get a lot of knockback and rejection, and they'd go with the agent who's got more runs on the board. I used to sell a lot of things off market and try and show that, you know, I have those buyers, I have that clientele. And I think that's when, you know, I first started to gain a little bit of traction where I was, you know, closing a lot of deals in an off-market scenario. That's when you need to then kind of get vendors to entrust you and have faith in you to get, you know, that vendor paid marketing. And once you do that and you've got runs on the board, you've got a bit of a history, a track record, things become a little easier.
It's quite funny. That's actually the exact same way that I started in Kellyville.
Yeah.
I was up against quite a big agent, or very big agent in my area.
Who was
and Corey Skibberus.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Good agent. Very good agent.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very tough coming up a big name like that. And the way I had to get in was exactly the same as you. Prove to my vendors and do a lot of off-market transactions and say, hey, look, I can actually get property sold without even advertising.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten to that point where we are doing a lot of it, well, where pretty much everything's VPA.
Yeah.
Now, for yourself, are you doing much off market now, or is it purely on market now?
Look, in the lockdown period, we were doing a lot of deals off market. Obviously, that level of uncertainty around the market, owners, you know, were hearing the media headlines, you know, number of cases, all this sort of stuff. So we were doing a lot of deals in an off-market perspective, and you know, getting a lot of good results then as well. Now we're trying to push things more towards market. I mean, it's a market in which you want to be taking advantage of the good climate we're in, and I think it eliminates that, you know, doubt that a vendor may have in their mind. Was there more money on the table?
Powerful. Now, when you come up, what would be your biggest take back, or sort of when you go into a listing appointment? And now, as you can see, you are a younger guy.
Yeah.
How are you combating that? Because I know, obviously, me being young as well, I get a lot of that. So curious to see how you combat when people say, "Hey, look, you are a lot younger than some of your competitors."
I talk about, you know, a lot of the competitors when they you know, raise competitors and they say this person's been doing it for this long and, you know, this is your level of experience, and I speak about how, you know, I'm not only more hungrier, but I'm more enthusiastic about it. There's a level of complacency that kicks in when you've been doing it for 20 or 30 years. The hardest worker in the room wins. I think, you know, that's the reality of it. I show them my results against other people. I think I mentioned that earlier. But more importantly, I talk about, you know, a lot of these competitors, whether they be principals, directors, you know, they're married, they've got kids. There's a lot of those responsibilities that they need to focus on. I'm married to my work, you know, and I make that very clear that for me, my priority is your home. Is your home going to be their priority? You know, who do you think is going to service your home? Who's going to service you a lot better, and who's going to give you that attention that you deserve? What your property deserves.
What do you do to service your life and get a balance to enjoy the fact that you're working all these hours? What do you do for yourself?
Good question, Daniel. I'm still figuring it out.
Buys a Rolex, gets a Rolex.
You'll figure that out after Christmas.
I think that's the goal for every year. You know, how do you kind of have that healthy work-life balance? I like to train in the mornings. I like to spend, you know, a bit of time with the family. I think back end of this year has been a little manic, so you haven't been able to really do that. And speaking to other agents, speaking to yourself earlier, I think, you know, that problem is there and consistent throughout our industry. It's very important to have that work-life balance, and, you know, it's very easy to get not only burnt out but be eaten, you know, by the industry. Ultimately, it's about realising what's important to you and, you know, spending time on those things in your life.
Yeah, good answer. Mate, with an ideal day for yourself, what time are you waking up? What do your daily tasks look like throughout a standard day? And then what time are you hitting the sack?
Yeah. I go to bed, you know, trying to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning every day. I end up waking up probably about 6, rolling out of bed. I like to get in a bit of exercise. I'll put my hands up and I'll say I'm guilty of not doing that for the last month or two. And then I get into work, trying to get into work at 8 o'clock, have a team meeting with my team so everyone knows what's, you know, happening throughout the day. We all have a shared calendar. Everyone knows everyone's whereabouts if they need anything. I'll then start on, 8:30. I like to get on the phone with all my vendors, update everyone, on a daily basis. I think if you get that out of the way in the morning, what actually you'll find is they're, a lot more comfortable that you've reached out to them. You're not receiving calls from them, and then that task is done for the day. You don't have to speak to them again in the day.
So you're speaking to your vendors every single day?
Yeah, I try to. I try to speak to them every day.
Right.
Even if there's no update, call them for 20 seconds. Hey mate, I've got nothing to say. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
Cool. As long as they know that you're there, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay. And what happens throughout after that? Once you get those calls out of the way, what are your next tasks?
I think just, focusing on the pipeline. I'm always looking out for the next listing, where am I going to get my next listing from? Last few months I've realised, the importance of having a structured day. I like to do all my appointments in the back end of the day, after 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock if I can. Obviously there's ones that you can't, and you'll have a client that says, no, we need to meet you at this time, and that's fine. You've got to do what you've got to do at times, but I think, between 8:30 and 12:30 or 8:30 and 1 o'clock, I'm just hitting the phones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And usually what time are you finishing and then getting to bed? And are you going out after and having client dinners every week?
That's something I'm guilty of, yeah. I think last week every night I had a client dinner.
Really? Really? Cool.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
A few drinks?
Yeah, a couple of drinks. You switch off, but ultimately it's not really completely switching off, is it?
No.
It's still doing the job, if you will.
Yeah.
So that part, always stays, and I think I'm finishing up at about 8, 9 o'clock every night.
Yeah. Big hours. So with yourself, are you taking much time off over Christmas? Have you taken much holidays, or do you plan your holidays throughout the year? Because I know a lot of agents, what they'll do is they'll plan holidays every 3 months or so. Are you like that, or are you just purely work focused at the moment?
I have been purely work focused. Next year I want to be, focused on my life a little more, my family a bit more, spend time with the people that I love.
Good. Fantastic.
That's what's important in life, Kev.
Good. It is 100%. And I think that's what I've found over the past couple of years. Like, I've worked so hard to get to a point, a level of success, but then you start to realize, hey, this isn't everything.
Mate, nothing's going with you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. Mate, a last parting question before we wrap this up. What would be your number one tip for anyone that's just started into real estate? Your number one tip? Is it big hours? Would it be the amount of hours you're working, your relationships that you're building? Because I know they are next.
Relationships is a big one. There's not one big thing. I think for me, one of the biggest things was once I realised not to compare my chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 10.
Yeah.
That was a big thing, comparing yourself with the other agent or the number one agent in your area, or he's just launched 3 listings, all that sort of crap. You got to cut that out. It's you versus you. So as long as you're improving, even if it's 1% from Monday to Friday, you're doing well. Set yourself small targets and small goals. When you're first starting off, it's not about, how many listings, it's more so about how many appraisals or how many new contacts, all that sort of stuff. And just realise that it's a long game, you're not going to have any level of success in the first few years, and that's fine.
Legendary.
Enjoy the journey, not the destination, or whatever they say.
My last question for you, Tarun, what would you say drives you now, and has that driver changed over the years?
What drives me now? I don't know. I get asked that a lot.
If you had to say something, what would it be, off the top of your head?
At first, I'd say it was trying to be at the top of your game. Now, what probably drives me more is my team, and knowing I'm there to support them. Helping them succeed and seeing them hit their targets and achieve their goals. There's a level of satisfaction around that. But yeah, I wouldn't have just one thing that's really driving me. Yeah.
Nice. Well, legendary advice. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, sir. Cheers.